Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's a couple of days before Newcastle's game against Wolverhampton Wanderers up at St James's Park, and what a big game that is going to be. Newcastle United right in the deep of this survival fight, just 3 points better off than Fulham. I'm joined by Chronicle journalist John Gibson ahead of recording another episode of Gibbo's Corner. I thought I'd get John's take on Newcastle United. I'm sorry, John, it can't be an episode of joy and elation, but alas, that is Newcastle.
Absolutely is. I'm just hoping now that everybody realises what the fans and everyone else has realised for a couple of months, that we're heading in one direction and one direction only. And right now, we've come to the crunch spot. It either stops now or we slide into oblivion, because the next 4 games is as good an opportunity as we're going to get to reverse the trend.
Now, I will state this is John's opinion. This is his answer to the next question. Does Steve Bruce get sacked if Newcastle lose to Wolves on Saturday evening?
He won't be sacked. We're not talking about whether he deserves to be sacked or not. He won't be sacked. Several reasons for it. One of the most being that isn't the way Ashley operates. And I saw some feature that was stuck out during the week about Ashley might have learned by sacking managers on a run into a bad season, because it didn't stop the trend. Newcastle went down, and they were referring to when Rafa Benitez and Alan Shearer took over as caretakers. The reason that didn't work isn't because he actually sacked the manager and put them 2 in. It's because he sacked the manager too late. That was why that didn't work. But he's not going to sack Steve Bruce at this point in procedure, and he doesn't like sacking managers, and also he's not interested enough, in my opinion, in the day-to-day. Bruce isn't the problem, Newcastle isn't the problem at the moment. Just let them get on with it while he deals with the high street. Will he, right at the death, do something if we're still hurtling downhill? That remains to be seen. Normally that's too late. But I don't think Steve Bruce is in danger of the sack this weekend. I think Steve Bruce at a different club might be in danger of the sack, but not at this club.
You mentioned previous managers, and a lot of comparisons have been drawn to Steve McClaren. I remember well that Chelsea game that he lost. I can't remember what the score was, but I can remember I was in Harry's bar in the centre of town, just thinking he's surely got to go. And then he was afforded a couple more weeks.
Yep.
And in the end, he didn't win the games he was afforded. And that ultimately cost Newcastle in the end, because Rafa Benitez had to take a couple of more games to get his side and to get it built up. And the worry is here for many Newcastle United fans that if Mike Ashley decides to sack Steve Bruce, if Newcastle fall in that relegation zone, which they could do come Sunday afternoon if they lose to Wolves and Fulham beat Palace, that, you know, it should have happened a few weeks ago, and whoever comes in is not going to have enough time to maybe turn things around. I guess the debate is whether this side is better than the one that went down under Rafa Benitez.
I don't think that is necessarily the debate, because both sides could go down. That side did, and this side could. Being better than the Benitez side doesn't guarantee you staying up. You could still go down. That isn't the point of the whole thing. The point of the whole thing is that you get into a trend. We have lost 12 of the last 16 games we've played. There's not a load of draws in there. Fulham have a load of draws. If they turned their draws into 3 points, they would be safe now, and we would be in the third bottom position. It's whether we can change this trend. And one of the things that's exasperating fans, and I think it was exactly the same with Steve McClaren, is some of the utterings of Steve McClaren during the final death throes, and some of the utterings of Steve Bruce now are very similar. It concerns me what Steve Bruce is telling us. Does he think that we haven't got eyes in our head and can't see what's happening? And glib talk and dismissal, and there's 8 of us in this relegation fight and all that, just infuriates. And, let's hope it goes right on Saturday. Let's hope this happens. Let's hope that happens. I'm sure that fans will not accept that and are irritated by it. And I hope the message in the dressing room in private is a lot more forceful than that, mine, because it needs to be. Because I tell you what, it starts this weekend. You've got to beat Wolves, because as you've said, if we lose to Wolves and Fulham managed to get a result against the dodgy Crystal Palace side, then on goal difference we are in the bottom three and might never get out of that again. And if you take into consideration that West Brom play Brighton this weekend as well, if Brighton win that one, and you would expect them to, they move away from us, suddenly we will look in the mess that we know we're already in.
I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and I watched Crystal Palace Brighton last night, and it was nervous because Brighton should have run away with that game. And then
no
you're looking,
question about that.
I was looking at the live table, and you're thinking, goodness me, they're 5 points or so between Newcastle and Brighton. Had Brighton won, thankfully Palace won. Of course, that takes Palace out of the mix, you would think now. You talked there about the message, and it starts this weekend. I was speaking to Supermark before the Manchester United game, and we were speaking about confidence, and that leads into momentum and what have you. Whatever the message was going into the Manchester United game, it seemed to work for 55 minutes or so, because they were quite decent. And I know that given what's gone in previous weeks, you take out Everton, you take out Southampton, it's not exactly been difficult to be quite decent compared to what we've seen. But there was something there, and you only hope they can channel that into the game against Wolves, but for consistently 90 minutes and make the most of it and get all 3 points.
Yeah, you do. But at the same time, you don't want to be told by Steve Bruce that that's the positives. Yeah. Oh, we did well for 55 minutes. I take a lot of positives out of that. Excuse me, what was the final score again? Oh, 3-1 we lost. Right now, we're not talking about performances anymore that have sickened us. We're talking about points. We're not talking about fleetingly during 90 minutes looking good, but over the 90 minutes we lose. We're talking about this having to be consistent. We're not talking about one game at Everton either, which was first class from start to finish. That has got to be repeated and repeated. And in this 4-game run we're talking about, which starts with Wolves, and we hope gives Newcastle a real chance if they get 6 to 8 points out of it, it finishes away to Brighton, the 4-match run. Now, that they destroyed us up here 3-0. They're a lot better than where they are. If they could score goals, they would be mid-table because they dominate matches, they look good, they play good stuff, but they don't quite get the result. And by the way, as you know, our last match is at Fulham. Good sake, if we are in a position where winner takes all in that game, we can't afford that.
Isn't it strange that that game could be the first game that fans flew out back into stadiums? Could you imagine X amount of Newcastle United fans travelling back down for their first game in, 18 months or so, and they see this side relegated? We hope that that's not the case. We hope that this relegation battle is over long before.
It's got to be put to bed before that. It's got to be put
I spoke to Lee, and he said it's the next month. Lee Ryder, I spoke to him after the Manchester United game, and he said the next month decides it, because you would think by then we'll get a better idea, because Fulham have got a horrible run of games coming up, Liverpool, Man City, Spurs and Leeds off the top of my head, so not ideal after that Crystal Palace game. However, you look at the Premier League since Christmas Day, colleague down in our central team made this league table up. Newcastle are bottom of it. Goals per match 0.8, goals against per match 1.8, and the bottom of it based on points per match, which is 0.6. Fulham up in 15th with 1.1 points per game. I mean, everyone kind of knows that that's the score, but to see it down there in black and white, it is a little bit scary. Context needed, I guess, because Newcastle have faced some of the top sides, as have Fulham in that time, and the results have been the same. However, Fulham, while they've won the same amount of games as Newcastle too in that time, they've drawn quite a few more, and that's the difference, because you're not losing. You haven't got that losing feeling. You think
they got to draw it at Newcastle with 10 men.
Oh, that game.
They got to draw at Newcastle with 10 men, and they're playing better. We have lost 12 of our last 16 in all competitions. They've only lost one of their last 7 Premier League games. They are in better form than we are. We are in free fall. They're trying to scramble up the mountain, and that worries you, or if it doesn't worry you, Mike Ashley and Steve Bruce, would you tell me why not?
Do you think Steve Bruce is worried? I know what he comes out and says in the press. I mean, you've worked with a lot of managers over your time, and you know Steve Bruce yourself. Do you think he's playing a kind of game where maybe the message in the dressing room is a lot different to what he's saying out in the media? He's maybe coming out a bit confident in front of the cameras, in front of the fans, but in that dressing room he's saying, look, we're in trouble here. You need to pull your socks up and we need to start getting these points.
Well, he better be saying that. I think that he will be. But even if this is a PR exercise for the fans in doing this, or we'll be okay routine, it is a bad PR exercise because it's infuriating the fans. They're beginning to openly question whether he cares enough, whether he's got a handle on it, whether he realises the mess we're in. And he walks at the end of the game, minor things he's got to be aware of. Minor things. He's coming off the pitch at the end of the game at Manchester United. Solskjaer comes up with him. Two guys that are legends at Manchester United start talking to each other, and they're both smiling. Now, it's okay for Solskjaer to smile, they've just won, but it looks uncaring with Steve Bruce. I'm not saying that it was, but it looks that way. The PR is atrocious. You're not going to get your fans on side with that sort of public image at the moment. You've got to be more forceful, fully admit the mess we're in and say, I tell you what, we're going to do something, and be more forceful. It appears almost flip.
I'm looking at these post-match comments here, and one thing I want to ask you about is this quote here. We looked a threat going the other way, but I was very, very pleased for large parts of it. But you're right, getting a few results is all that matters. We've made changes and changed the way we've gone about things. That is obviously going to take a bit of time. For a long time, I didn't change it. I left them in their comfort zone. So this is the way I want to do it.
Well, we haven't got a long time to change the system, it's got to work now. There isn't a long time left.
But can you say that? I mean, you open. He's been in the job 18 months now. I
was going to say it's a work in progress. We're getting better as season by season. We brought in new signings in the summer that have improved the side. No. Has Hendrick improved the side? No. Has Ryan Fraser improved the side? No. Has Lewis improved the side? Not defensively. The only out-and-out success is Callum Wilson. And by the way, we haven't got him for these. We're talking about the next month or the next 4 games or what's going to decide our future. Almost inevitably, we'll be playing without Callum Wilson in those games.
What a big miss he is. And we'll get onto that in a moment. And you mentioned the whole work in progress thing. I just look at West Ham, and I know they've spent quite a bit of money. But David Moyes came into that job 6 months after Steve Bruce joined Newcastle. West Ham were, I think they were in the relegation zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
They're 4th, and they're not 4th based on luck or other teams having a bad run. They're 4th because they deserve to be there. You look at Villa, who were going quite well, and they were tipped for Europe, and you can say, well, maybe they didn't have the staying power. West Ham look like they've got the staying power, and they look good to watch. It's not always maybe entertaining, but he's found a system which suits the players.
Absolutely.
And if they finish in the top 6, I don't think anyone will be surprised because they deserve to be there.
Can you believe we won there on the opening day?
No, I can't. That's why everyone goes back to.
We won there on the opening day.
Seems a long time ago.
You see, that's what irritates me about accusations being made at Newcastle United fans. I'm not talking about Steve Bruce and Mike Ashley. I'm talking about throughout the country. They're too demanding. They're not too demanding. They don't expect to be challenging the big 4 or the big 6. They expect to be as good as West Ham, as good as Wolves or Aston Villa, and even and quite rightly as good as Leicester.
Well, yeah. I
mean, why can't we aim for Leicester? We may not be able to aim for Man City in Liverpool of the past or the old Manchester United of the past, but there's no reason why we can't be as good as the other clubs we've mentioned. And that is all that is demanded by Newcastle United fans.
I'm going to even argue with that. I don't even think you set your bar as high as that. I think we just want to see a team go into a game and try to win, not go into the game and think, oh, we're playing one of the top 6 sides, anything other than a defeat is a bonus here. No. This is the Premier League. Anything can happen. We've seen West Brom hold Manchester United. We've seen Sheffield United beat Manchester United. Anyone can beat anyone. If you approach the game right, you got a plan and you believe in yourself. Drum it into these players. You can beat anybody in this league. And I just look at it and I just think...
But also, once we're behind, we may start off to do that. Yeah. We may start off like we did with Southampton, like we did with Manchester United. We start off on the front foot. We press high. We do all those things. And because we never went behind at Everton, we did them for 90 minutes and won. But the minute we get into trouble, like at Manchester United, we become a different team. We revert to nature.
What is that down to then? Because like you see, you mentioned Manchester United. We saw it there when the second goal went in, and the camera pans on Lascelles, and then it pans to Kieran Clark. But there's no one's talking, no one's shouting,
no leaders in the team.
Yeah, is that what you think it comes down to?
Yeah, I think there's no leaders in the team, and we desperately need leaders. Now, the interesting thing is that when we talk about leaders or good attitudes, and they're not obviously there at the moment. Matt Ritchie has a terrific attitude, is a natural leader. Matty Longstaff, who's a kid, the enthusiasm, his wish to play well, his way that he gets around the park is enthusiastic. These two guys don't get a sniff at the moment of getting into the side. Don't get a sniff. Now, I'm not saying that answered the problem, but there isn't an answer to the problem because we're stuck with the players we've got. But we need leaders, and we haven't got leaders. I mean, Bob Moncur and Alan Shearer when he wore the armband. I tell you what, you just looked at them and you didn't drop your standards because you knew what was coming your way if you did.
It's ironic though, isn't it? Because Jamal Lascelles made his name arguably the last time Newcastle relegated when he went in against Southampton, and he did not hold back at all, and that's where he made his name. He was then handed the captaincy. He hadn't featured under McLaren. He got sent off against Everton, if I'm not mistaken. Someone will correct me on that, but he got sent off, didn't he? And then there was a game against Southampton when he went in the dressing room and he said, I think you could hear him shouting, "No one cares." We'll bleep that out to make the point. But this time around, when that second goal went in, you just want to see someone grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and it's all good coming out like he did after, I think it was the Chelsea game, and saying it wasn't good enough, we didn't start well enough, the ball went out for a throw and we need to be starting better. Fine, okay.
It's easy to be skipper Andrew Monday to Friday in terms of publicity. We've got to do better. We've got to stand up and be counted, the usual platitudes.
But you know what? Enough of words. Just do it on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Just stop doing it.
The fact also that there's not a crowd in means you can hear what players are saying, or even more important, what they're not saying. And that is apparent with Newcastle United. They haven't got natural leaders. When Lascelles isn't in their side, often the skipper's John Joe Selvey. Well, I mean, I ask you, he can't look after himself, never mind the other 10 players. I mean, he has gone backwards so much, he's like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. I mean, it is ludicrous. He is yesterday's man, I'm afraid, at the moment.
One of his long shots from the halfway line might hit the target eventually. Fingers.
I mean, but I mean, everything about John Joe, he is not the man that, you can't imagine that this guy played for England now. I mean, he can't get round the pitch. His body language is shocking. He gets irritated when things are going wrong and he's a walking red card or 2 yellows. He isn't what is needed in a modern football side,
and I guess a side which is facing a relegation battle. This is where people now earn their stripes. This is where you understand
absolutely
who is going to stand up for this club and for the fans.
Absolutely,
I'd say Isaac Hayden is probably the one everyone's betting on. Because he has got a great attitude and he gives his all. And you got Miggy giving his all, but he's not a leader.
No,
and I tell you what, with 13, 14 games to go, it's the wrong time to be asking who's standing up for this club now, isn't it?
Oh, yes, because once you start sliding on that hill, You know, when we've had the recent snow and you're top of the hill and you go on the sledge and you're 3/4 of the way downhill, you try stopping. It's a very difficult thing to do. But having said, in mentioning Miggy, and you said there, you know, he's not a leader, etc., etc. But I'll tell you one thing, while Callum Wilson's out, we are off going to have to rely on Miggy Almiron and Alan's son Maximum, because they can win matches. One is all about pace and the other is all about trickery. But they can win matches, and we are not now about not losing or even drawing. We're about having to win. And if we're going to win matches without Callum Wilson, then Almiron and St. Maximum have got to be on blob, because they're the two that can possibly make the difference for us.
That's a nice segue. It's like we almost planned that, because my next question was about the strikers. Just before I carry on, we're also filming this for YouTube. We are in the lane ahead. You'll see us wearing our coats, because obviously the heating hasn't been switched on in months due to the coronavirus. Obviously social distance as well. So that's why we've got our coats on, because it's very cold in here.
But we've got our love of Newcastle United to keep us warm.
Yeah, that's the positivity, John. Yes, on to the forwards then, because Joe Linton started in place of Dwight Gill. And again, I spoke to Suter Mac, and you guys listening to this may have heard the podcast we did with him before the Manchester United game. And I asked him if he was frustrated that Dwight Gill started out on the wide where Callum Wilson's done so well. And he said, yeah, but more than anything, I was just mad. I was just angry, because he knows as a striker, well, you know, the strength of a striker. And Dwight Gill, obviously, no disrespect to Dwight, not anywhere near the same level as Supermark was in his pomp, but both natural goal scorers. And Dwight Gill needs to be in the centre of the park as a centre forward, you know, the furthest man forward, running the channels, last man on the line, not out on the wing. And he brings Joe Linton in, who is more suited to that role. And look, he had a couple of chances, but what stood out for me, and I've written this in a piece, it'll be on Chronicle Live later, there was that moment right at the start, John, when he gets the ball in the box and he turns and he almost kind of jumps. He's almost frightened. And Jermaine Genius goes, I think he was a bit caught out there about the room and the space and time. I'm just thinking, hey, if that had been Supermark, if that had been Shiva, if that had been Les Ferdinand, if that had been Salman Rondon, there would have been no, whoa, hello, I can get a bus through there. It would have been in the back of the net, because you've got that natural instinct. And I'm sorry, look, I think there is a player in Joe Linton under the right manager and system.
I know you do. I don't.
But there's not a natural striker in there.
No, he's not a striker. You tell me what he is, and he's not a striker. He looks a striker when he runs out on the pitch. Unfortunately, when a ball comes near him, he doesn't. I mean, I despair with Joe Linton. The bottom line is that outside of Callum Wilson, we haven't got anybody that can cut the mustard up there. Joe Linton, nowhere near good enough. Dwight Gill, body language tells me he's already sickened off. He expects to go at the end of the season. He's happy to go at the end of the season on a free transfer. He gets a signing on fee to go and play somewhere else. His body language is not good. In that, I think...
But is that understandable given the fact that he's not played since that goal against West Brom? And then when he has played, and I'm sorry to keep banging this drum, you've played him out on the wing where he's not suited. And this is what made Supermark angry. He said, it's not playing to his strengths. And it isn't. Like we saw in that championship season, which is maybe his level, again, no disrespect, but how good he was running through the centre. And I honestly do think Steve Bruce, if Joe Linton's out injured against Wolves, and we'll find out later this week if he is, obviously he went off with that injury, he's going to have to either play Andy Carroll or he's going to have to play Dwight Gill, which means a formation change, because Carroll certainly is not going out on that wing.
He's got to play one or two in any case, because he can't play Joe Linton.
He's got to play them in that central centre forward role, hasn't he? Which means a change in formation.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally understandable why Gale is the way he is. I mean, the minute he scored the winner against West Brom, and then in all those games, he never got another start for yonks and yonks and yonks. It's obvious that something's gone on behind the scenes, and Gale is resigned to the fact that he's going to be going at the end of the season. He doesn't look a happy bunny. Incidentally, by the way, for me, Ryan Fraser's body language is poor as well. He looks like a well-smacked backside. I mean, what is wrong with... And he hasn't got the situation that Gale's got, where his contract's up and he's likely to go... He's just come to this club. Where the heck is the guy that 2 years ago ran Bournemouth alongside Callum Wilson in the Premier League? It's not there anymore.
Again, though, I ask, is it kind of... It's not understandable because, you're playing for Newcastle United. We'd give a left arm to do that. But when you're coming onto the pitch for striker, in inverted commas, i.e. Joe Linton, and then you look at it and you think, well, you've got St. Maximin, you've got myself, i.e. Ryan Fraser out on the wide, and then you've got Miggy running about in the middle. Who is Ryan Fraser crossing to? And I'm sorry, if you come onto the pitch and your skill is to get that ball in the box, I'm kind of looking and thinking, well, okay, I can do that, but...
I won't excuse him in the way, and I follow totally what you're saying, Andrew, but I won't excuse him in a way at all, because I don't think since he's arrived, he hasn't been physically fit enough to start enough games for a start. His body language has never been great. When he played with Wilson in the Newcastle side, he didn't burn up any trees. He has come to a new club, a big club. They get 10, 11,000 at Bournemouth. We get 50,000 at St. James's Park. It's his chance to prove himself. He hasn't got hold of that chance, made it happen, or anything. And I'm sorry he didn't do it when Wilson, his mate, was there, who can get on the end of things in the box. He owes himself, he owes the fans, and he owes the club. I'm not putting everything down to him, far from it. But, I mean, on the general thing, we haven't got a situation where we've got an answer to Wilson being out. We've got Gale, who is unhappy and is going to go at the end of the season. We've got Fraser, who's got a pet lip on or is at least uncomfortable with the way things are. We've got Andy Carroll, whose contract's up, and will he be offered another one? It was amazing. He was offered one for this season, so is he going to be offered one for next? I doubt it very much. And we've got Joe Linton, 40 million wasted. So we haven't... It's almost a matter, if it doesn't matter who we pick on Saturday, it's going to come down, which was the start of this conversation, to whether Almiron and San Maximum can get us out of the mess. And they're our best hope. Of course, in a team game, they need other players around them. But our best hope, because we've got to start winning, not drawing, is that those two who have scored our last 3 goals, Almiron got 2 against Southampton, and San Maximum scored a nice one at Man U. We're down to them. They will make or break us, because who else is going to score consistently? They haven't got a good goal-scoring record, but they've got the ability to do it. Almiron will work all day. Attitude-wise, we can't complain.
But again, I mean, there was 2 examples on Sunday night or Saturday night, whenever the Man United game was, Sunday, wasn't it, that he got up that pitch. And even again, Darren Fletcher, Jermaine Genius just turned around and said, who's up there with him? There was 1 minute, I think it was a 22nd minute, and he burns Lindelof for pace. He's up there, he's away, and he has to hold the ball up, and then he gets tackled because no one's busting a gut, no one's... And I'm thinking, Wilson would be doing that, but anyone worth the salt should be just trying and gambling. That was the words Jermaine Genius said. And look, Genius said a lot of things which fans rightly disagreed with on Sunday, but he was spot on with what he said about the striking issue, that there was no one gambling, there was no one just giving them all to get in that box. And that, for me, sums up the issue that Newcastle United and Steve Bruce has over the next 4 weeks, while Callum Wilson 5-6 weeks gets back to full fitness.
Well, certainly you're not going to get Joe Linton bursting a gut to get in the box, because the penalty box is full of sharks as far as he's concerned. He's not going to be bursting a gut to get in there. Andy Carroll lives in the penalty box, but he hasn't got the pace on the break. I mean, Almiron's blistering. And can you imagine Shelby with his legs getting up in support? No chance. The only hope you've got is Willock gets up from midfield.
That moment I talked about with Almiron, and again, I've written about this in a piece online, and I just point out that Gale again, he's not the standard of Wilson, but he knew that run. He would have been making that run and giving Almiron, an option and a pass on, and that's what is the most frustrating thing. And do you know what? Even if Gale makes that run at the box and the pass doesn't come off, or even Miggy gets tackled before he can make the pass, but at least Gale's in the box and he's wanting the ball. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference for me. And as you can tell, I said to John, we'll do 10 minutes here because we've got to record the next episode of Gibbo's Corner, which is on the Magnificent Seven who should not have left Newcastle United. We're now coming
Joe Linton's not in that seven. I'll give a little hint there.
We're now come to half an hour because you can tell we've got a lot to vent. I will urge you guys to like and subscribe to the podcast through whichever platform you're listening through. If you're on Apple, just scroll down. You can leave a review, but on Spotify, share it and subscribe to your family and friends as well. That would be great. John, before I get your score prediction for Wolves, and we're doing this before we've seen Steve Bruce's press conference, so we'll get some injury updates and what have you. And are you worried for Saturday night against Wolves?
Yes, I would be worried whoever we were playing in the Premier League, because our form, we keep hearing from Steve Bruce, for example, we've just played Manchester United, we've just played Chelsea, as though that is the reason why we've lost. I'm sorry, we lose to Sheffield United, we lose to Brentford, we draw with a 10-man Fulham, we lose with... there isn't time to make the whole list out. We lose to bad sides, not just the good sides, but we're only told about the good sides as though, that's to be expected, then we'll run the white flag up, that's okay. We lose to bad sides, and Wolves aren't a bad side. They're not a great side, but they're not a bad side. Of course I'm concerned. We've lost 13 of the last 16. You would have to be something wrong with you not to be concerned. And bear in mind, Wolves, who hit a real sticky spell, having gone well, they hit a sticky spell because they lost Raul Jimenez, who's a wonderful, inventive striker. They lost him, they hit a bad spell. But they're pulling themselves out of it. They've won 3 and drawn 1 of the last 4 Premier League sides. They're not blowing any sides away, but they've found a way of winning again. So, of course, you've got to be concerned. Having said that, there's not a side, bearing in mind we've lost to Sheffield United, who are bottom, there's not a side that we can say we wouldn't be worried about.
And I guess... also, if you're Wolves and you're looking at Newcastle and you're thinking, right, we probably need 6 points to make this secure, and we'll be in the Premier League next season. You're looking at this game and thinking, this is where we're going to get the first of them 3 points. Also, if you're Newcastle though, and you've got Scott Park and you've got players from Fulham coming out and saying, we've got you in our sights, and obviously Steve Bruce is like, we'll wait till the end of the season and we'll see where they are. Didn't fill me with confidence or encourage me that. But does that play in the minds of players, or do you think, is the best approach now for players to stay off social media, to stay off Instagram, stop reading the news, come in house, focus on the game, and just try and switch off from the world? Because if they do read the headlines from wherever, it's not pretty, is it? And that's surely got to affect them. Or does that work as maybe it kickstarts them and think, well, we're being told we're this. We've surely got to now go out there and prove these people wrong.
If you've got any courage, it does that to you. But, we're worried in case the poor, gentle souls are getting perturbed by what they're reading or what they're hearing about people being upset. They should get the prayer mat out every night, get on it, and thank the good Lord that the ground isn't open and there isn't 50,000 fans in there, because if they were playing Wolves in front of 50,000 fans this weekend and then went behind at home, do you think they would hear about it? By Jove, they would hear about it. Do you think Steve Bruce would hear about it? I just suspect he might just. They should be pleased. If such gentle souls are getting perturbed, stop reading papers, just get them in fish and chips. Stop going on social media. But if you were at the match, you can't switch off the crowd for an hour and a half. The lucky boys. Just get on with it. Don't feel sorry for yourself. You're at a great club that's passionately involved. Just do what you're paid to do. If you're as good as you think you are, each individual, then prove it. And if all 11 individuals prove they're good, then Newcastle stay up. Get on with it.
It's that simple, isn't it? And one of the things that I think resonated with a lot of our listeners and viewers on YouTube was when we spoke about the Chelsea game. You did the preview episode with me, and you were very, you were very positive. You were very, we should not fear them. You said, let's go down there and let's see what they're about. Let's give them a bit of a kick. And, why should we be afraid? And I'd 100% agree. I think our listeners 100% agree. This is Newcastle United.
Absolutely.
We should not fear anybody.
Absolutely.
And we go into games with a bit of a defeatist attitude, in my opinion. And
when we did, Andrew, when we did do that, this business of winning, when we did do that at Everton, we won at Everton. We completed the double of Everton, who have just beaten Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, who have just beaten Spurs 5-4 in the Cup. When we went out with the right attitude and kept it for the 90 minutes, because we never fell behind to feel sorry for ourselves, the job was done. We're just asking for that again. And by the way, if they're upset about all these awful headlines they're seeing, did they get a feeling of the love when they produced the 90 minutes at Goodison, they produced a win? They got a smattering of love and euphoria and a little bit of pride coming back amongst the fans. That's what's waiting for them. That's what's waiting. Never mind the negative stuff, the positive stuff that they will get from these fans if they go out and keep Newcastle United up by consistently playing with a heart the size of a frying pan worn on the front of their shirt. That's all we ask. We don't ask for Messi. We ask for big-hearted players that'll fight for this club. And we ought to get that. In the showed against Everton, it can be done. Right? Are Wolves better than Everton if you look at the table? Not so. Are Aston Villa unbeatable? We mightn't have Grealish. We're about to play West Brom. We've seen where they are. The opportunities are there. If you're going to do it, you do it now. No more excuses. No more waiting. No more, let's see where we are at the end of the season. Now. Do it, and it starts with a victory against Wolves.
Fingers crossed. Score prediction, will it be a victory?
My heart would tell me, my head, first of all, would tell me it's going to be 1-1.
Because the stats and history tell you that as well.
Yep.
I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but I know it is in a ridiculous amount of games which have ended 1-1.
Oh, absolutely correct. And my head tells me that's what it's going to be. I've got a black and white heart. We can't afford not to win. We certainly can't afford to be relegated, because we wouldn't come back at the first attempt like we have done the last twice under Ashley. So we must not go down. So I've got to go for a 2-1 and say Alan Saint-Germain, Saint-Maximin and Miggy Almiron, bless you both. I'm relying on you to lead the chariot race and get us somehow over the line.
Is it a must-win?
I think it is. It's not because in terms of this... but if we keep saying, we've lost again, and that's 13 losers and 17, but we'll be okay next week, or we'll be okay because we're going to go to West Brom, or we're going to be okay because we're going to Brighton, we'll end up saying, if we beat Fulham by 4 clear goals on the last day of the season, we'll be okay. We can't keep putting off getting maximum points. With that point of view, yes, it is a must-win, because it can settle nerves, especially if we go on to cash in the 3 games that follow.
Well, John, I hope it is a win, and this conversation about safety is secure. Newcastle can get that safety that we all want sooner rather than later. Thank you for joining us on the Everything Is Black and White podcast.
My pleasure.